213. Baseball trick shots. Wait.
Bonjour everyone, Pantoufleee here today for a new video in which you have the pleasure of watching WOTB playing his T110E3, and he's about to do one of the greatest games I've ever seen using the T110E3. But before we jump into the replay, what are the specs of the tank you're looking at right now? First thing first, this tank is a bunker. In its appearance, it really looks like the Americans took a bunker and just put tracks on it, and it acts the exact same in World of Tank Blitz, because when you take a look at this tank, guys, it has an amazing armor, probably one of the greatest in this game, because the top part of the hull features more than 400mm, which is way bigger than anything else on this game. It has one weak spot only, or two I should say, the first one being the lower part of the hull as usual, and also not the cupola, the big cupola, but the one you have the viewport on the left part of the tank right now. That can be penetrated with HE, but not a lot of people are aware of that. One last thing to mention, 640 alpha damage gun, let's say that the accuracy is average, but to fight that average accuracy to make it really good, we have our friend WOTB that is using special consumables, making it easier to aim. I never used this consumable. I should give it a try at some point during one of my games with the T110E3, but we're gonna see how he performs with it. But it's like a guaranteed laser aim, regardless of where you're gonna shoot with. This is pretty much how it works. Interesting thing he's doing right now, he knows that the T57 Heavy can be penetrated with HE on the side, and he's trying his luck. I wouldn't have tried at this range, because I know that at a certain range your HE is losing penetration, so maybe this shot on paper could be a 1k damage, but in reality will be only something like 400. But as he got the max roll damage on the Jagdpanzer E100, it means that all his shells shot in and did damage for the moment. 2k damage on the Jagdpanzer E100, the guy is dead, and for the moment, let's say that it's critical for his team, because they are all dying one by one. He's staying on his heel, and he's right. You don't have the mobility that allows you to push through, so he would rather keep an eye on all the enemies from a safe position, rather than pushing through and taking the risk of being circled. Luckily for him, if you take a look at what the enemies have, he had a really good match. Let me explain to you briefly why. The main adversary of the T110E3 is probably the mediums and the light tanks. Here in this game, he's fighting tank destroyers and heavies only, not mediums and not light tanks, because they don't have light tanks, and the stand B, the only medium, already died. He just has to make sure that he stays in front of his opponents to be able to win. It's really critical for him, because he's now in a 1 versus 5 situation, and with quite a lot of players that are not all one-shots. So if he managed to take out all of them, it would be one of the greatest games ever. So there we go, he's trying to focus on the right tanks. Amazing shot here straight on the T57 Heavy, allowing him to push that to 1 versus 4. He still has to be careful, and I think he knows what he's doing, because he's always going for the low life. There we go, lucky shot on the Heavy-1A3, gotta be fair. He took a shot in the process, but that was a necessity, and now he's pulling back. He's pulling back because he wants to play in a position from which he can show only the upper part of his tank to its enemies, because that's the only part nobody can penetrate, even using gold shell, except if you're a Hori, but it's not the case here. I really love how he's playing his T110E3. We really feel through the replay and how he's playing that tank that he knows what he's doing, and I think it's quite impressive to have this kind of thing featured on the channel. So there we go, he's trying his luck on the cupola of the Kranwagen, and luckily for him it did not go in. There we go for the Kranwagen trying to sneak some shots. He's trying to angle his tank. Maybe the Kranwagen is gonna sneak one. No, 2 shots in, not a single one did it. And as the mouse is putting pressure on the cap circle, he'll have to do something. He knows he has to move, and he is gonna do it pretty soon. So there we go, there is the Kranwagen that he's gonna try to circle. He's not gonna bother, he's gonna go straight on the STI, because it's always one tank down, and he's focused on the mouse right now. He doesn't have the the right to miss his shell. Is he gonna be able to do it? Come on, come on. The mouse was angled. He used a PCR and boom, straight into his hull, managing to reset the cap and therefore being safe. Now it's only a matter of turning around to be able to bounce the Kranwagen and the mouse, and now he's focusing on the Kranwagen because he would rather kill the tank with the most mobility than the mouse that is in front of him. That's exactly the kind of things you want to do. You need to select your targets when you are in this kind of situation, and that's exactly what our friend is doing right now. He's trying as much as possible to get on the Kranwagen, ignoring the mouse. So there we go, he managed to kill the Kranwagen as well, and now he only has to deal with a mouse. Is he gonna make it? This is the question. He has to take some distance from the mouse. Luckily for him, the mouse bounced again, but it's not something that will happen too often. The mouse really doesn't know what he's doing, and I think our friend is using calibrated shell simply over the fact that he managed to penetrate the mouse straight into its upper part of the hull, which is something you can do with the T123 only when you are using your calibrated shell. So there we go, it's no longer a surprise here. There we go, he sneaked the last shot, killing the mouse. 6 kill, 8k damage, a 1 versus 5, completely clutch, and nothing else to say. Yes, some of his enemies were bad, especially the mouse, but even with this being taken into consideration, this has to be one of the greatest match I ever saw in the T123. So really, thank you God of Whips for sending me that replay. That was awesome from the start to the end. We nearly got a 9k damage here. I don't know if it's a world record in T123. I don't think it is, because all the T110 or the T110, all the tier 10s actually have above 9k damage for you to be able to get to set up a world record. But that was an amazing game nevertheless. Oh man, I really struggle with some English words these days. Hopefully you enjoyed, guys, and before you leave that video, I just want to give you a quick tip on the T123 if you want to make it a little bit more effective. When you take a look at the attachment, it's going to be a pay-to-win tactic, I'm sorry, but when you go into the attachment, if you don't use the attachment, as you can see, this part of the tank that can be penetrated by gold shell from tank destroyers is not hidden, whereas when you use that, you can kind of block it. What I mean by that is, yes, the shells will still go through it because that's not counted in the armor profile of the tank, but at least you will be able to hide a little bit that, and maybe some people will think that this thing is counted as spaced armor and therefore will not try their luck, saving some hit points for you and for future opponents. If you enjoyed that video, feel free to subscribe, like and share, and I'm gonna see you soon for a new one. Bye.